Each year we release a BBB top 10 scams right across Canada. Um, and after 2018, we decided that we wanted to take a closer look at the data, going just beyond the numbers and looking at victimization. Um, and this allowed us to look at the risk that consumers face in the marketplace. Now, what our data showed is that someone falling victim to a scam could be based on several factors, and this includes age, it includes experience, it includes knowledge, and it also includes how they were contacted. To better understand the scam type, we also looked at three factors. We looked at exposure, which is the volume of scam reports received. We looked at susceptibility, the percentage of those who fell for the scam, and we also looked at monetary loss. Now, this is the BBB risk index that we're talking about, right? So we call this the BBB risk index. And the risk index helps us to focus more on victimization at an individual level. We're paying closer attention to how much money each person is at risk of losing when they're exposed to scams. So right now we're going to be delving into the top 10 scams, and you can get an idea of what they are. We're going to be going into each one and then say how you can avoid being caught by these scams. So now we move to the 10th riskiest scam, which is credit cards. Now, in many of our reports that we receive from victims, the scammer pretends to represent or impersonate a well-known bank or your credit card company, and they try to manipulate you into getting your personal information. They may ask you to verify your information, and usually they call just about the middle of the night, early morning, when you're probably half asleep or busy during the day, and they're hoping to catch you at a point when you're distracted. And this, when they call, they trigger a sense of anxiety and fear just to get your information. And they want to verify that they're speaking to the correct person, so they will provide your name. They may even provide your account number, and they tell you that they're calling from your financial institution. We would encourage you to hang up. And when you hang up, you can call back your financial institution with a listed number that you have for them. So that's how you can prevent being caught by the scam. You can move along, Ed. That's how you can prevent being caught by this scam. The early morning calls is a red flag, saying that it's someone from your bank. And your bank would not ask you to transfer money from one account to another for safekeeping. So that's another red flag as well. Moving on to our number 9 riskiest scam is fake invoice scams. Now, this one is particularly interesting because it affects businesses for the most part. And it's where scammers attempt to fool employees into paying for a product that the business did not order, and they may not even exist. It can be for any product or service, but the most common we have seen, they have to do with office supplies, website or domain hosting services, directory listings. And perhaps the most intimidating version of this is that the invoice may appear to be from a local, provincial, or federal government agency that's attempting to collect taxes. And usually when you hear taxes, you want to act fast. So this may come as past due, and then it may be followed by a threatening phone call. So they have their plans of how they intend to reach you and then how to get you to act. Last year, BBB completed an investigation on business email compromise, which is an email phishing scam, which typically targets businesses as well. And the scammer poses as a reliable source, such as your CEO or a trusted vendor. And what they do is ask the employee to send money to a different account, to wire money to a different account, and an invoice is usually attached to that as well. Now, how can businesses protect themselves? BBB recommends that businesses and other organizations develop policies that require employees to verify any changes in information about their customers, about their employees, or about their vendors. So you have a group of people, a small group of people, who usually any invoice that comes in would have to go through the invoice to make sure that it is credible. A process is important for this, to inspect the invoice and to make sure that you're not paying out money for goods that's not delivered. Number 8 on our top 10 riskiest scams is tech support scam. Now, this one is not one that should be taken lightly. Many people are, may be unfamiliar with technology. As much as it is prevalent, there may be some people who may not know the details and the intricacies of fixing a problem when it comes up on your computer. And this may make you vulnerable. Now, you want to be looking out for unsolicited calls claiming to be from computer techs who are represented companies like Microsoft and Apple. And what scammers usually do is that they use companies that are trusted, companies that are authority in the field, and they use those names to try to get you to believe that their text or their email is true. They usually say that they detect a virus on your computer and that what you need to do is to give them access so that they can fix the problem. And eventually they ask you for an unnecessary payment. Now, when you pay, it's usually a malware that they're downloading on your computer to gain access. And when they gain access, it's your personal information that they really want. So BBB advises people that if you want to keep on top of this, you should never give control of your computer to another person. That's one way of protecting yourself. If you did not call your computer company or your tech support company, do not give control to someone who calls you out of the blue to fix your computer. Another important point to remember is that a legitimate tech company will not call you out of the blue to say something is wrong with your computer. Usually, it's you would have to reach out to say there's a problem and you need it fixed. And if you're working on your computer and you see unfamiliar links or pop-up ads, we don't recommend that you click on those. Usually those are just phishing scams, phishing for your information, which can be used for identity theft, and some of them asking for payment and your credit card information, which a credit card can later be used by these scammers. Number 7 on our riskiest scams is home improvement scams. It's one of the oldest that we've seen since we've been doing this report across Canada, but it's still a problem. It's very diverse, which is why we continue to warn about it. And based on the reports that Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre is getting as well, we think that we need to continue to push warning on this scam, home improvement scam. So you want to be wary of door-to-door solicitors offering quick, low-cost repairs, especially during those months where, during the spring or the summer, early fall, where you may still be working on renovation projects. You want to be wary of people who are coming door to door soliciting, asking you to use them as a repair company. One common hook that they may use, the scammer may use, is they may claim that they're working in your neighborhood. So this is something that you want to look out for. Yeah, you can move along. This is something you want to look out for when they say that they're in your neighborhood, they just fixed their neighbor's property, and so they're giving discounts or whatever in your area as well. You want to look out for that. And usually it comes with high pressure as well. So you have to get this deal now. You have to pay upfront fees. Those are big red flags. If there's a contractor coming to your door and you have to do it now, that's a red flag. They should be able to give you time to think about what you're offering, maybe to call back the company or the business and have a discussion to see a contract, go through the contract, and then you can decide whether or not you're going to be using them. And if they ask for upfront payment, usually in cash, then that's a big red flag as well. We recommend that you go to bbb.org if you're planning to engage any contractor for any work on your property. We have a list of thousands of businesses across Calgary and area, or if you're outside of Calgary and area, you can visit the website for the BBB in your area as well. And we do have a list of contractors that you can reach out to, trusted contractors, BBB accredited contractors that you can reach out to get estimates or to have a discussion on renovations for your property. Extra due diligence is important. It may seem like extra steps that you're taking, but in the long run, you're actually saving yourself money and you're saving time as well. Because if you should go with a contractor that's a scammer or does shoddy work, then you still have to get that work done at some other time and pay other money for that work. So do the research and take time to do due diligence. Online purchase is our 6th riskiest scam. That was our 6th riskiest scam for 2019. In 2018, it was also on our list, and this in 2019 it had the largest level of exposure and it resulted in the highest susceptibility rate. The top 3 delivery methods for scams reported in 2019 used online tactics. So we're seeing scammers moving to social media. They're using fake websites. They're sending you emails. Those are the top 3 means that they use for contacting victims or targets. And these methods make up 63% of scams in which the victim lost money. In fact, we say that online activity, primarily through the use of websites, was recorded as the number one means of contact with a scammer. And 27% of that led to Canadians losing money, on average about $102 with each report. And with more than 90% of consumers now shopping online, most of us is right at our fingertips. We click and we make a purchase. There's a greater possibility of exposure to an online purchase scam. And it varies. It could be fake website, it could be purchasing counterfeit goods, it could be subscription traps, unexpected import taxes, and other last minute charges that you have to pay after your item arrived, which was not presented to you when you were making the purchase. And we've seen a variety of things being on these websites, from clothing, electronics, and even pets. And pets we see mainly around the holidays like Christmas and so on, and people are trying to get gifts for family members. So to stay on top of these scams, always remember, if it seems too good to be true, then it really probably is too good to be true. And this may seem like a cliche, but in most instances for scams, that's usually the case. We recommend that you always shop on legitimate websites and never wire money to someone you don't know. How can you know that a website is legitimate though? So you can look in your URL, you look for a lock symbol in your URL, and you make sure that the web address is HTTPS. The S on HTTPS suggests that the website is secure. So if you're shopping online, those are two of the key things that you can look out for. And also use your credit card when you're shopping online, because if something goes wrong, if it turns out that it was a scam, you usually can have a conversation with your financial institution, and there's some kind of recourse for that. So using your credit card is a more secure way than using your debit card. Number 5 on our list of top riskiest scams is employment scam. Now, with this scam, victims were at risk of losing an average of $1,500 in each instance. And that's quite a bit. I'm sure most of us don't have a $1,500 just put away that we can afford to lose. So it's quite a bit. And it gets increasingly difficult to track these because scammers, they're also lurking on reputable websites. So no longer are they just creating fake websites, but they're going on LinkedIn, they're going on Monster, they're going on Indeed. Those ones that we know and trust, again, they're using sources that they know people trust. So if the offer comes with high pay and options to work remotely and flexible hours, you want to be very careful about that. I put a plug here with COVID-19 as well. We are cautioning consumers to be on the lookout for those because we're seeing layoffs, we're seeing reduced work hours for employees. There are many financial, things that are happening around this time, and you may see an increase in employment offers coming in via email or on these websites that I'm mentioning. So be on the lookout for those as well. And usually they may also say to get the job, you complete a form with your personal and very sensitive information. And then they may send you a check to purchase equipment that you will need for the job, or they may say use some of the money and then return the remaining portion of the money that you didn't use. It ends up most times that the check is a fake check. And because when you take your check to the bank, the money is automatically credited to your account and you can use it. You end up using money that's not yet really cleared, and days after using it, your bank may reach out to you, say, hey, the check was fake, and so you're out money. And most times they target millennials, people seeking jobs, ex-convicts, new immigrants, and students who are already vulnerable. So if you did not apply for a job, you did not get hired for one. It's as simple as that. And no reputable company is going to ask you to cash a check and demand that you send money back to the company or to other employees. So those are two of the things that you should always keep in mind whenever you get a job offer just out of the blue. Did you apply for this job? Is the first question you want to ask. If you did not apply for it, likely you did not get hired. And if you do see a job pop up, and you're keen about it, you're interested in it, we recommend that you go to the company's website directly and search if they have that posting. What you can do as well is just plug that, words from that ad into Google and see if that same ad pops up for other areas. Number 4 on our riskiest scams was cryptocurrency. And this scam has made a concerning comeback to the top 10 list, with Canadians reporting median losses of over $3,600. Now, cryptocurrency is a type of digital money, as some of us may know, and it serves as ordinary money, but it does not have physical counterparts such as banknotes or coins that you can carry around. So it only exists in an electronic form, which is why it is difficult to kind of manage. They're not controlled by any central authority, and that makes the situation even more complex. This kind of structure allows them to exist outside of the control of government. And unlike money that you store in your traditional bank, it is not insured against theft. And that's a big risk when you decide to go into cryptocurrency. Digital assets such as cryptocurrency, it cannot be retrieved, and transactions cannot be reversed in instances of theft through cyber hacking. In most of the reports that we get on Scam Tracker, what we see is that the cryptocurrencies purchased from, traded by, or stored with a person or an exchange site that turns out to be fraudulent. And what happens is that sometimes these assets are purchased as part of a fraudulent initial coin offering, or ICO, where investors are scammed into paying money, or they're scammed into trading digital assets for a company that never materializes. So they've lost money and they've lost their time. So BBB recommends that before you make any investment decisions, it is very critical to understand the concepts of these emerging technologies and virtual currencies that we're seeing. BBB recommends that you learn these digital assets and learn how they work. You can move ahead, Iyad. You learn how these digital assets work, and also research the exchange site or the person with whom you're doing business before you complete the transaction. And usually these days, you can plug things into Google, for example. You can do your research there on the person, see what reviews they may have, before you go into any kind of transaction relationship with them. You need to understand the risk and know about any applicable legislations if you're going into cryptocurrencies, because it's still so, we're so unsure about how it operates. It's very important that you do this kind of research. Now we're moving into our top 3 scams. We're going to look at our third riskiest scam, which is romance scams. Now, our investigations and our analysis show that feelings of loneliness were associated with being more likely to engage with and lose money to scammers, especially when the individual felt he or she lacked companionship and they were isolated from other people. And during this time as well, with COVID-19 of self-isolation, some of our friends or loved ones may be by themselves, especially those who are single, divorced, and widowed. You want to be checking on them to make sure that they're okay, because this is a time when scammers are reaching out to those people with love. And because they're alone and they feel isolated, they may be drawn into going along with conversations that may cause them to be scammed. The likelihood of losing money was, in 2019 was higher for single people, divorced people, and widowed people. And usually it's a 55 through to 64 age group that we see the highest risk with, and with women overall. It was the second highest, with a median loss of $4,000. And that's a lot of money, which I know most people, no one can afford to lose, especially during these times. So if you're feeling isolated and you suspect a potential romantic partner is suspicious, we recommend that you reach out to a friend, a neighbor, or your local BBB. And remember never to send money to someone you have not met. Now, usually with romance scams, you meet someone online and they give you stories that they're working out of town. They're never able to meet you in person. There are always excuses, and then they rush into telling you how much they love you and you can trust them, and the relationship continues or the discussion continues. They try to take you off social media, for example, and they want direct contact with you. So they may ask for an email or a telephone number where they can text you. Those are red flags. And then they say, okay, I have an emergency. Can you help me with $1,000? I need to make a payment of a utility bill, or whatever their emergency is. They're always asking for money. Those are red flags, and it's indication for you to run from those conversations. Number 2 on our list is advance fee loan. It was number 7 in 2018. It has now moved to number 2 for 2019. And Canadians lost an average of $1,500 per scam. There were clear indications that challenges with handling personal finances would lead to opportunities for scammers to capitalize on. Locally, we received over 60,000 consumer inquiries about loans, making it number one service of interest to the public. And fraudsters typically prey on people in a financial bind, especially if they do not qualify for loans through reputable lenders. The common ruse is this scam is that a loan is guaranteed, but it comes with upfront charges, including taxes, so-called processing fees. When the charges are paid, the loan never materializes and the applicant is left with larger debt. We caution consumers that in Canada, paying advance for a loan is illegal. You can move along, Iad. It's illegal to be asked to pay a fee in advance to get your loan. Usually what most credible financial institutions will do is that they will take that payment from the loan amount, or they'll roll the payment for administrative fees into your repayment plan. So if you're ever asked to pay a fee upfront, that's illegal in Canada. And again, with the COVID-19 situation, this is one that we anticipate that more people are going to be contacted or see ads popping up for this kind of loan. You're being laid off, you're in a financial bind, you're cash strapped, and you need money now. And this seems like an easy way to get money, but we want to caution consumers to stay clear of that. If you require a loan and the business asks for fees up front, or if they offer guaranteed approval without any credit check, just walk away. Credible financial institutions will always do their credit check, go through your application before guaranteeing. They won't guarantee your loan without doing those kinds of checks. Now we move to our number one scam. Travel, vacation, timeshare scams was number one in Canada for 2019. While these kinds of scams took the number one spot in Canada, they were number 10 for neighbors to the south in the US. The Scam Tracker reports showed that these scams made up 3% of all scams reported in Canada, with more than 62% of victims losing money when they were exposed. And the median loss was $5,000, and that's a big sum. Several consumers, they reported to BBB about bogus businesses who, these businesses deceived people into paying exorbitant closing fees on fraudulent timeshare resales. So before enlisting in any timeshare broker service, it is critical for timeshare sellers to thoroughly research potential brokers. You can move ahead, Ian. You should do your research before reselling your property. And we know of buying timeshare that there are scams associated with that, but many people may not be aware that when you're reselling as well, there are these scams that are associated with that. We also recommend that you can speak with the company that you bought the timeshare from to see if they have a recommendation for a company that will purchase your timeshare from you. Scammers also target people who are looking for great vacation deals. For us, we want to get away from the cold and the ice. So we're looking for great deals to places that are warm and sunny, and they take advantage of that. And they're unrealistically low prices. So again, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. It's important that we do our research first with any kind of offer that we get, and bbb.org is a great source for that. You can just plug in the name of a company, and it pops up with reviews or complaints and so on about that company. And always pay with a credit card again for this one. Just because if something goes wrong, you can speak with your financial institution, and usually there's some kind of recourse that you can get. And there we have it. That's the top 10 riskiest scams for Canada for 2019. Now, overall, based on BBB Scam Tracker data, women were slightly more susceptible to losing money to scams. But when men lost money, they lost significantly more than women. So men would lose an average of about $600, while women would lose about $200. This may be related to the scam types that impact men versus the type of scams that impact women. And also, while younger individuals, you can move along, Iad, while younger individuals, particularly those between 18 and 44, were more likely to lose money to scammers than older people, younger consumers lost less to scammers than older consumers. In fact, people 65 years and older, they lost an average of $600. And maybe it has to do with the amount of disposable finances that the older people have versus younger people. who may not have much in the bank saved up or that kind of thing. So older people tend to lose more than younger people, even though younger people fall to these scams more. And then younger people may fall because, we get overconfident that we know the technology, we know how to spot a fraud, we know all these things. But scammers are always trying to keep a step ahead of us. And so they catch us in this era of overconfidence. While older people are usually very cautious, very wary, and they may ask questions and it may take a longer time before they fall for these scams. It is important to note that these means of contact we spoke about earlier are not restricted to just the top 10 scams. This is a general layout of how people are usually exposed to scams. And now that the world is dealing with coronavirus, the coronavirus pandemic, these methods won't change and the scams won't stop. In fact, we see them coming in and they're just coming in faster than we can keep up. You can move along, Iyad. We are all practicing social distancing right now, but remember, social distancing keeps you away from other people. It doesn't protect us from online fraud. And when you're isolated, you may not feel like you can reach out to anyone, but especially during this time, we ask that you reach out. You can move along. What we're seeing now is that scammers are pretending to be legitimate organizations. So they're mimicking your WHO, Alberta Health Services, utility provider, and they're mimicking the government. They're impersonating these organizations by using emails and text messaging, even calls. We heard of in Alberta where people were receiving calls to say AHS was contacting them because their result is positive and they should provide a credit card to make payment for a test. Now, if you did not do a test, you are not tested positive or negative. And AHS will not contact you asking for your credit card information over the phone. There is currently no cure for the drug. So if you get these calls saying that there's a cure, there's a vaccine, there's a medication that you can take to prevent it or to cure it, you want to delete that text, delete that email immediately. And the tests are free and they're not being done over the phone right now. So if you get any call from government, health service, those are things you want to ignore and be on the lookout for those because they are going to be coming. You can move ahead, Iyad. What we're also seeing popping up is scammers offering services and products. So we have a lot of people who are working in their communities and they're working as volunteers with their community associations or with other nonprofits who've been doing this kind of work for a long time. You may see someone showing up at your door to say they're a volunteer. Be very careful. Verify their identity. Take time to get a name or driver's license number if necessary, or better yet, get in touch with your community organization if you do need help, or one of the other trusted organizations in your community if you need help with delivery or grocery shopping for the elderly, that kind of thing. Don't just trust any random person that's showing up at your door, because we anticipate that people can use this time of vulnerability to get your money, and you're out of money and there's no goods for you, there's no groceries for you. We also see where they're mimicking the nonprofits to say that they're giving out masks. So for example, Canadian Red Cross, there was a text message going out to say that they're giving out masks and 1 box per household. And that's totally fake. That's something that scammers are also doing now, and they're setting up websites and they're sending social media messages. And again, these are simply phishing scams that are trying to get your personal information and or your money. Miracle cures is another one that we've seen. So they're saying that there's a cure, and as we discussed, there is no miracle cure. There is no cure as yet. There is no vaccine available. And they usually accompany this with a very good backstory. So personal testimonies are used, but be very suspicious of those testimonies. It's very easy to get anyone to do a testimonial for a product that you have. Be suspicious of products that claim to immediately cure a wide range of diseases, because currently there are no cures and there are no remedies for that. And there are no health products that the government has said you should look to. Unfortunately, charities are also being used in this time to swindle people of their money. So they're mimicking legitimate charities that we know. I just discussed about Canadian Red Cross, where they were mimicked to say they are giving out masks. on this link to get yours, and that was not true. So in situations like these, we recommend that you contact experienced relief organizations, experienced donors. You may see a few new charities popping up, but we recommend using experienced one because they usually know how to deal with challenges. They've done it before. They understand exactly what they're doing. They're able to tell you exactly how the money will be used. There are more information coming from these experienced charities than ones that are just popping up in the pandemic. You may also see fundraisers saying that they're giving money towards right. So the government has financial aid packages that they're giving to people who are in need. And again, scammers are going to be taking advantage of that. They're going to be sending text messages to say you can claim your financial aid here, but we encourage you to visit the government's website before you reply to any of those text messages or click on any link. And as a matter of fact, I don't think the government is going to be sending you a text message to claim or to apply for financial aid. So always go to the government's website for that. Now, we have been doing consumer education around scams for many years, but underreporting continues to be a serious concern as many victims are too ashamed to come forward, do not feel it will help, and they cannot be bothered. And they are too ashamed to come forward and they cannot be bothered to try and recoup a couple $100. Or they simply may not know where to turn for help. Now, we encourage you to use our BBB scam tracker. By educating the public on the most devastating scams, we hope that we can reduce the impact and financial losses caused by scams, as well as teach consumers key strategies that will enable them to avoid becoming victims. We've now looked at the top 10 riskiest scams. We've looked at scams that you should watch out for during COVID-19 pandemic and to keep yourself, your family, your loved ones safe. We've reached the end of the presentation that we have for you. We thank you so much for listening. If you want more information, you can go to bbb.org/riskreport-Canada or bbb.org/coronavirus. And we also do presentations to small groups. So if you're interested in having a presentation, you can move forward, Iyad. You can send an email to david@calgary.bbb.org. And we can make arrangements to have this presentation.